Do you wonder if you're the best version of yourself? This is the question we seek to answer in this podcast. We reveal information that helps you recover your health and become resilient. Modern life makes us fragile. Our diet, lifestyle, and environment set us up for failure. We do not accept this. We seek optimization. We strive to become dynamic. Hey, what's going on? Dr. Chris here. Today I'm going to talk about two of my favorite topics together, the lymphatic system and autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease is on the rise. There's lots of different types of autoimmune disease, nearly 100 that we know of. And it's always described as an immune system gone haywire. We'll get into some of the reasons for that. The lymphatic system is highly integrated with the immune system. So the immune system kind of launches from the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is kind of typically described as like the sewer system of the body, which is a gross misrepresentation. I mean, yes, it does handle swelling, but it also is a huge part of the immune system. It's highly tied to the gut. By the way, there's Galt cells, which is gut-associated lymphatic tissue, which the gut we know is also a huge part of your immune system. When your gut's inflamed, you are inflamed, and this inflammation can travel to different parts of the body, such as the brain, the skin, and basically there's an axis between the gut and virtually every other system of the body. So it's a huge system that's often neglected. I'm talking about the lymphatic system. So one of the key features of the lymphatic system is it's basically I think of it as a passive system. So basically everywhere you have arteries and vessels, you have lymphatic tissue as well, lymphatic vessels and nodes. The difference being that the cardiovascular system has a heart to pump the fluid around, the blood, and the lymphatic system does not have a heart. It has the action of all your muscles. So every time you go for a walk and your calf squeezes, your quad squeezes, your glute squeeze, you breathe, all those things are what facilitate movement of the lymphatic system. One thing that can happen is you can have inefficiencies of the lymphatic system. So, for example, I have a patient who has bilateral knee replacement and had breast mastectomy. So that's a lot of insults to the lymphatic system because she's had a lot of the lymph nodes removed in the axillary area from the breast mastectomy. And then the knees, the back of the knee is a major collection area of the lymphatic system. So the more insults to the system, the less efficient the system becomes. So think of it like if you have 4 sinks in your house, and they all have their individual plumbing to a sewer system, it's going to be pretty efficient. Now, if for whatever reason you were to remove 3 of the lines and attach all those 3 lines to one of the other lines, the one that's still connected to the sewer, you're going to get backup quite often. And this can show up in the form of swelling, lymphedema, and things like manual lymphatic drainage can really help that. And the reason this is important for the immune system, or autoimmune disease in general, is when you get this backup, you have decreased toxin removal or detoxification, which is crucial for managing autoimmune disease. So let me back up a bit. So autoimmune disease, we tend to think of it as a genetic thing. While there is certainly a genetic component, you may have the genes for something like an ankylosing spondylitis, like the HLA-B27 gene. Now, whether that gene gets expressed or not is a different thing. That's the idea behind epigenetics, so the turning on or off of these sort of genetic switches. Now, there's an acronym for this. This is the work of Dr. Paul Nasami. I've mentioned him on the podcast before. He's written a book called the TIGER Protocol. So TIGER is an acronym for the 5 known triggers of autoimmune disease. So T stands for toxins, I, infections, G, gut, or gut health, E is what to eat or not to eat, and R is the rest and recovery component. So the toxin part, which is, according to him, one of the biggest parts of it, is what can turn on your autoimmune disease. So what are toxins? I used to kind of cringe when I heard that you got to get a massage, detox, and you're going to sweat out those toxins. It sounds so vague to me, but this is a real thing, and there's known toxins. They could be either man-made or naturally occurring, and they can cause harm to organisms. This can be like cigarette smoke. It could be heavy metals such as lead and arsenic and cadmium, This is why we have unleaded gasoline now, because we figured out that putting lead in the air led to all kinds of issues. Mercury is a known one, so those that go out and have sushi 3 days a week and having a lot of tuna, probably not the best idea. Then we have endocrine disrupting chemicals such as the PFCs, PCBs, pesticides. Maybe you've heard of glyphosate. That's a known pesticide. The World Health Organization has listed glyphosate as a probable carcinogen to humans. It's got a few mechanisms through which we know it's dangerous. One is the way it affects the liver's ability to detox. There's a cytochrome P450. That's a liver enzyme, and that can be inhibited with glyphosate. It also massively affects the gut microbiome. It can cause a decline in the beneficial bacteria, leading to an overgrowth of the pathogenic bacteria, and that can have an effect on the immune system. Then there's the microplastics. I'm sure you've heard of this. This has been in the news. There's been a lot of studies where they're finding plastics in people's blood, their skin, their bone, testicles even. And when you start to look at how much plastic you touch per day, just do yourself a favor and pay attention to how much plastic you touch per day, and even stick in your mouth. Like, think about your toothbrush bristles are made of plastic, and you're putting those in your mouth a couple times a day, hopefully. A lot of clothes are made from plastics. Underwear is often made from a type of plastic. The receipts you get handed, they're coated in a BPA film, which is plastic. The insides of metal cans have a plastic lining. Think about like takeout food, all plastic forks, everything. It's just incredible how much plastic we touch, and you think it's like no big deal, but when you look at the accumulation, our skin does absorb, our mouth clearly absorbs a lot. This stuff becomes a huge toxic load, which brings me to the detox equation, which is toxins in minus toxins out equals your toxic load. So what can we do about this? You have to do your best to mitigate the toxins you're exposed to. You can't eliminate it fully. Eliminating plastic in someone's life is near impossible. But you can cut back on things. You can do glass Tupperware instead of plastic. You can drink out of metal water bottles instead of plastic. You can refuse a receipt. Things like that can be helpful. And then there's things you can do to get some of the toxins out. So we do know that sweating breaks down tissue, such as adipose tissue, and that's where a lot of these toxins are stored. Which, by the way, sauna use does actually reduce toxin burden, because a lot of that, the adipose tissue is subcutaneous, so just underneath your skin, and because sauna has a topical heat, that can help access those superficial fat layers. And then, of course, manual lymphatic drainage, and that's sort of the point of this podcast, is if you have a lot of toxic exposure, and you couple that with a couple joint replacements, maybe a breast mastectomy or some sort of insult to the lymphatic system, having someone manually facilitate the movement of the lymphatic system can be hugely beneficial. I think of it like, think of a way water would flow around a big boulder in a river. You want to remove those boulders, and that can really affect the immune system in a positive way. There are some other things you can do when it comes to the lymphatic system. There is something called the Big Six. So if you Google the Big Six, this is the work of Dr. Perry Nicholson. I believe he's trademarked it. There's six movements or six areas you can kind of clear the immune system. Right. So, for example, it'd be like rubbing and tapping your neck, the armpit, the groin, the abdomen, back of the knee. So the Big Six collection areas of the lymphatic system. Rebounding can be helpful too. So that's just kind of like, it looks like you're doing little baby jumps, so your feet are not leaving the floor, just kind of doing heel raises and letting your arms kind of go limp. That's a way to facilitate lymphatic movement. Walking in general is just a great way, because of the pump action of the calves in particular, a great way to stimulate lymph. But certainly if you have lymphedema or like I mentioned, joint replacement, it's best to work with a professional on this, because they can really make this happen much faster for you. So that's it for this week. If you want to reach out to us, if you have any questions concerning either of these topics, whether it's autoimmune disease or the lymphatic system, it's stuff we'd love to talk about and love to help people with. A ship in harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are meant to do. What does this mean? It means exposing yourself to difficult situations so you become resilient. If you need help building resilience, check out our flagship program called Physiologic Flexibility. This is a 3-month do-it-yourself program that teaches you how to maximize your homeostatic regulators, such as your pH, blood glucose, O2 and CO2 tolerance, and temperature. We give you specific action items through the program with the goal of becoming anti-fragile. If you want to become the inspiration for your friends and family, this is the program for you.